So what's going to happen after the election? I'm going to talk to you about who I think is going to win, but you're going to have to wait around for that toward the end of the video because I want to talk about the consequences or the benefits and both of a Kamala win and a Trump win. So what's going to happen to the country, in my opinion, if Kamala wins? Well, I think you're going to see more of the same that we've had in the past 4 years, but I think that something ominous will come down the pike, like we've kind of seen with Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine. I think that we will get roped into a foreign affair or some other war. So I feel like the weakness on the Kamala ticket is the foreign policy. I feel like we're not seen as strong from other nations. And I think that that's indicative of the decisions that we make in our own nation. So more of the same. I think you'll see a the ban on abortion. I think that will be lifted. I think there'll be some changes there. I think there will be, the border crisis will continue. I think crime will continue to go up. I think the same sort of problems that we're having will go up, and things will just happen a little bit faster because I think it will actually get more extreme. So whether that's something that you want or something that you don't want, I think that will happen within the next within the term. But I really think the biggest difference will be on the foreign soil. There will be some sort of war that's going on, or the wars will escalate, and then we will get roped into it, and that will happen. And I think that would happen in the next 4 years. Now, that could still happen if Trump's involved, but what I think one of Trump's strength is because he's so unpredictable, that I think that gives our nation a little bit more security, and people in other nations might go, okay, this guy might nuke the heck out of us, so we're going to play ball a little bit better. So I think on the foreign relations side, Trump has the advantage. And I think that whether we get roped into a war or not, he will find a way to deal with it better. But I don't think that that actually would happen. I think that when Trump gets in, if he gets in, he would then be a lot better with the foreign situation. I still think that you'd see more of the same because I think that the country is moving in a direction. But one of the differences that I would see between the Kamala ticket and the Trump ticket is what's going on foreign, but also what's going on inside. So like I said, with Kamala, the same sort of things that are happening within the country would continue to happen. And I think that Congress and everything would go along with a lot of the same old. But with Trump, I think that there would be changes. I think there might be more strict, just one example, the abortion thing. I think he might let that go to the states, and then that would end up, being disputed there. And I think that there would be more protests. There will be more, anger inside the nation because they feel like Trump is taking away some of their rights. Meanwhile, he might be improving the economy a little bit. He might be doing these positive things for the people of the country, but because of the perception of him, they're not going to take it lightly, and there's going to be this want to throw him over. So I think if he gets in, the people will be upset, but I think also lots of people in government will be upset. I think a lot of corporations will be upset. Some will play ball right away. You've seen McDonald's. They've gone right in with him, all right? You've seen some of these companies go in with him. And to me, that's a little bit surprising. So I don't know who's going to play ball, but I think you'll see that. You've already seen attempts on his life. I think you'll see more of that. So on the United States soil, I think Trump will see a lot of problems within the government itself, outside the government with the people. Even though he might be making good decisions, it's going to be difficult for him to get the job done. And there might even be something like a coup or a civil war or something weird in that sense, because there's this rejection of him as a leader. They think that he's an idiot, and they think that he's terrible for the country. But again, his strength is going to be on the foreign end of things, and we're not going to be in a World War III scenario. It'd be more like a Civil War scenario. Now, the same thing can happen with Kamala, but I think what would happen is I think it would get so extreme that people would start to wake up like they did over the past 4 years to understanding what's kind of going on in the country and start to take back some more of the country within certain areas. And you've seen this. Some areas have kind of gotten more extreme and gotten worse. Other areas have gotten better. They're starting to, people are starting to break away from certain traditional systems. They're taking their kids out of normal education and they're homeschooling. So I think you'd see changes in the country, but you wouldn't see as much overall upheaval of the actual government itself, which is what I think you'll get with Trump. So again, on these two ends of the spectrum, I see the country's is going to have problems either way. And if you've watched some of my old videos, I talk about the fourth turning and how we're in the fourth turning right now, which means it's collapsing. We're losing faith in our institutions. We're arguing about all these different sorts of things for whether it's race or sex or sexual proclivity, guns, school, healthcare, all these problems that we have. And we're gonna break through this and we're gonna get better, but we're gonna have to go through some turmoil. So the turmoil might be, I think it's gonna be with either way, but I think that there's two kind of paths. One is gonna be more of okay, we don't agree with what's going on in the country, but we're gonna take back some of that respect. So that's going to be like, if Kamala wins, the more conservative types are going to be like, okay, this is nuts. We're going to start moving away from California or, from these bluer states that are going full gung ho. We're going to kind of almost make our own communities and do things a certain way and step outside the system a little bit. Whereas if Trump wins, I think you're going to see more of the mainstream CNN, news media attack on what he's going after, and that'll be more of the Civil War type thing in that direction. So it'll be a little bit more obvious and a little bit more aggressive. But either way, that's going to create problems for states, for the country itself. On the grand, world stage, I think Trump would handle a foreign conflict better. I think that he had better relationships with other, whether they're good or bad, you still want good relationships to be able to deal with these people in other countries. And I don't think that will happen with Kamala. I think that plays into, which is such a weird thing for me to think about, that the Democratic side is more pro-war today than the Republican side, whereas when I grew up, it was the complete opposite. You had the warmongering Dick Cheneys, George Bushes that wanted to go into Iraq and all that stuff. So it's a weird time for me to look and see. So, that being said, who do I think is going to win? Well, I think that, just from my perspective, from what I see, I think Trump's going to win, but I think it will be close. I think it will be, I think the popular vote will be very, very similar. I think the Electoral College might end up being almost like a blowout, but I think it'll be actually a lot closer, and I think it'll be very, very close. But I think that Trump is going to edge it, just because I think people, they didn't really want Kamala. They saw Joe Biden. Joe Biden had his problems and they got rid of him. And even within the Democratic Party, they didn't really vote on Kamala as a candidate. She went from being like the most ridiculous vice president to now being someone who's a candidate for president, which it just doesn't seem like there's enough juice behind her. Now that could change, but considering the elections tomorrow, I just feel like Trump has the momentum. He's got a big team of people that are from all different, political persuasions joining his side, which I think is going to sway the swing voters and the swing states and the people who are more undecided. So that's what I think. But either way, we're going to have problems. We're going to have a lot of problems, and we're going to have to, again, make our own beds, deal with our own problems, figure things out. But the biggest thing is learn how to communicate. And that's where I see us failing, is that we're not able to communicate, whether that's in Congress, in the Senate, in our homes, in communities, in online, all that kind of stuff. If we don't have a realization that we need to communicate with each other, and even though you hate my viewpoints, let's just say, you're still going to have to deal with me because we're neighbors, right? And if we don't have a mindset of healing and bringing things together, we're just going to end up, continuing the problems until the problems get bad enough, and then maybe we'll change. So I still think that there's going to be more problems. I think as good as Trump might seem like he would do some things with the economy, like people are talking about the economy that he had back then, I just don't see those days coming. The crisis that we had in 2020 completely changed everything. All the money that we went out with the COVID crisis, all the stuff that we gave back to the people in regard to money, that you just can't make that up. So it's gonna be a long haul. We're never gonna be back to where we were before. So what's gonna be our identity moving forward? How are we gonna deal with that? And that's gonna take creative thinking, and that's gonna be a 10, 20-year plan, not just the next 4 years. So if we are short-sighted and we just continue arguing, things are gonna continue to be the same. They might even get worse. and then we're going to really have to deal with it. So that's what I see is going on. I think Trump's probably going to win, but again, it's going to be close because there is so much animosity toward him. But I think those middle voters, the ones who are undecided, I think there's just more out there from Trump that will get them swayed on their side, and they've kind of seen what's going on with Kamala with the past 4 years with Biden. So that's just what my thoughts on things. But either way, hey, you're going to have to deal with your life. And that's really what's given me ease in regard to all this is, hey, I got to focus on myself. Either way, whoever wins, I'm going to have to deal with it. And problems arise every day, and you got to figure out how to deal with them. So stay positive, whether your candidate wins or not. Try to stay positive. Try to think about that old quote from John F. Kennedy. Don't ask what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. And if we have that mindset, we will get through these tough times, which I believe we will still have tough times in ahead. So that's all I got for you today, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.